This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yeah, broadcasting out of the heart of the nation in Wichita, Kansas on our flagship radio station.
What's trending today?
I want to go to California for just a moment to move all the way to the West Coast. The state is being investigated heavily by the fraud task force. Vice President J.D. Vance, Dr. Oz leading some of that, closing down hundreds of quote-unquote hospice care facilities and shutting down their funding, which surprisingly they haven't called to be like, hey, where's my money? That hasn't happened yet, which kind of is an indication of what the heck's going on. They're working on passing a bill known as the Nick Shirley Act, which is essentially you're not allowed to be an investigative journalist. You're not allowed to be an independent investigative journalist. We're going to silence your freedom of speech. Nick Shirley himself actually went to California to talk to the California Speaker of the House on this issue and was walking down the street interviewing her saying this.
Or why would you sign off on that? It's a direct violation of the First Amendment, and it makes it harder for people to expose fraud here.
We have Ledge Counsel. They check the constitutionality of all our bills as we're writing them.
And it was only until I exposed fraud that they actually cracked down on the fraud and made some arrests here, especially with the hospices. And do you know that if this bill were to pass, it'd make it illegal for someone to go after fraud, especially if it's based off of immigrants, for instance, Armenians in California.
Well, let's talk about it here on the program, shall we? I'm really happy to have on the show to chat about this and more. He is the Director of Communications for the American Small Business League. Back on the program, Mr. Bruce Torres. Bruce, how are you, my friend?
I'm well, Andy. You?
Yeah, doing great. I appreciate you jumping on here. What a wild time when we have a state government passing a bill saying, wait a second, you kind of blew our cover on a lot of fraud. We're going to ban the ability to investigate things as an independent journalist moving forward. That's kind of wild to me.
It is, and everyone in California needs to look into this. The bill is called something politically, regular, like protecting immigration, this, that, or the other thing. Calling it the Nick Shirley Act is very handy for lay people to say, oh, yeah, it's his efforts that inspired this circle the wagons and make it harder for citizen journalists to do what real journalism used to do, 1,000 years ago when I was growing up in the 20th century, in the good old days when there was a more diverse and honest media doing these things. This corruption is just more evidence of every place we look in the institutions of so-called authority, whether public or private, government, or if it's a major trusted, formerly trusted industry, it's laced with fraud and corruption. Am I right?
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty wild that they're not getting angry about the fraud and saying, hey, thanks for exposing it. We've been working on it behind the scenes for a long time. This is where we're at in the investigation to try and stop it, and this is what we're doing. It's not that. It's, oh, my gosh, how dare you go after certain communities? How dare you be an investigative journalist? I mean, Bruce, we had during the whole, when it was the big issue in Minnesota with these cases of the Somali population, Nick Shirley goes to the door and says, look, the Leering Center is not open right now. There's nobody here. They're getting a buttload of money, and we don't see anything happening. CNN calls the facility from remotely, and they're like, yeah, it's legit. And that's what they report. Well, we did our due diligence. We called the facility. They said everything's okay. So what are you guys worried about? That was their investigative journalism.
It's a symptom of the dumbing down of America to demonize a citizen journalist and accuse him of basically racism. Oh, you're going after these foreign populations that run these businesses,
right,
is either knee-jerk wokeism that's been embedded into these people, or it's being demonized by those that are somehow in the money chain, the money go round, and are benefiting from maintaining the fraud. Anything that affects small businesses is of huge interest to us.
Right.
30-second plug about my group, American Small Business League, ASBL.com. For decades, we've exposed the fraud of small business contracts going to big businesses and costing the economy millions of jobs every year because Washington is in the pocket of the 0.1% of companies that are big businesses. Andy, 99.9% of all businesses in America are small businesses.
That's right.
But rather than feel vindicated like, oh, there's more fraud coming out, maybe that'll open up minds to consider our accusations and see, my God, this fraud's been going on for decades that we're pointing out. It's really humbling, just as a human being and as an American, what it says about the state of our country, that it's rife with this kind of corruption. And I enjoy going right to philosophical consolations and ways of looking at it in terms of this big history stuff. Now, I don't know if you want to go there, but empires get corrupt and then they collapse, and we can't take it personally.
No.
We have to just do the best we can with the truth we can find and the truth we can share to tell each other we can handle the truth and to step up and hold our representatives and authority, hold their feet to the fire, say the emperor has no clothes, and give them no mercy about this kind of stuff, but yet somehow find a way to enjoy life day by day? You tell me. How do we do that, Andy?
And right now it seems like a lot of these social programs, the fraud and corruption has been embedded into the basic structure of how it was formed at the beginning. And we can talk about the social programs like Medicaid that we're in, Medicare and Medicaid that we're seeing now, and the hospice stuff. But you mentioned the small business thing as well, and how, the small businesses, that there are fake small businesses, there are shell companies out there, there are the large corporations pretending to be small business to get government contracts, that it seems like it's been embedded into culture for a while, and no one either knew about it or didn't care enough to try to address the issue and nip it in the bud before it got too big.
Yes, and so many of the well-schooled who do what they're told during their formative years, unfortunately, rise into positions of power in the big institutions, and it's deliberate. The school experience is meant to sort. It's meant to destroy those who want to be independent and cripple them, but find the good slaves, the good soldiers, the good order takers, and they become the CEOs of these giant corporations, and they also can become corruptible politicians who keep business as usual. My mind went right to the Federalist Papers. The best writings of the founders of the United States of America, Andy, warn us about all this. And they're the ones who describe how, listen, it's the nature of power in government to grow until it tyrannizes its own people. And there's great consolation in knowing that there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with our generation.
Sure.
We are humans, and this is what happens under governments.
And we got to take a hard break here, so let's continue this when we come back. All right, let's get back to our guest here, Bruce Torres. He's the Director of Communications for the American Small Business League, battling for and fighting for small business, trying to expose and end corruption. Bruce, I got to ask you, and this is kind of related to it, but at the same time, they're an organization that tries to be part of the government, not really by the government. NGOs. Should we end NGOs in the country?
We should look deeply into them. Too many of them are doing naughty things, and too many of them are backed by real naughty players. Golly, I thought you were going to talk about the Federal Reserve the way you set that up. Not really part of the government, pretending to do something good.
That was the next question I have. I mean, we have the non-governmental organizations doing governmental work, funded by government, but not being part of government, so that way they can get away from the rules. But like you said, then we have the Federal Reserve doing the same thing. That is setting the rates of interest rates, that's setting inflation rates, the stupidest idea in the world of quantitative easing. We have to live in debt to some degree to keep the economy going, which is just the most absurd idea that I've ever heard out there. That's impacting the private sector, that's impacting enterprise and impacting small business in the country, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's a scam, and it was created in 1913. For those who love history, there's a book publisher, I used to do marketing for them, called TrineDay.com, Trineday, TrineDay.com. They've published about 200 books that question official history, okay? Everything from the JFK assassination to 9/11 to COVID-19 to the CIA smuggling drugs to Skull and Bones, their infiltration of our institutions of power that, aided and abetted things like the creation of the Federal Reserve. And there's so much hope in that, Andy, because the vast majority of human beings are really good. And as horribly evil as some of them are, there are an equal amount, I got to believe more, who are decent and good and who are smart and who, throughout our history, did wonderful, wonderful things in the name of freedom, which is, an anomaly. Our human history is might makes right. The bully can take the lunch money just because he's bigger and badder than, the regular kids. And the miracle of the United States of America is the concept that rights make might. So we have to get clear on what is the best of our heritage and our history, what fueled our greatest periods of prosperity, The answer to that is Alexander Hamilton's American School of Economics. I'll wrap this up by plugging my book, God School, 9/11 and JFK, The Lies That Are Killing Us and the Truth That Sets Us Free, covering much of this and more. People can learn all about it at brucedtorres.com. And there's so much hope in this knowledge and information, Andy, and that's the most important thing to give your audience and anybody else. It's to calm down, stop drinking from the fire hose of fear and bad news.
That's it.
And get some and develop some hope, and by having the courage to talk about these things, you'll find you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. And your whole everything I've been listening to since I've been on this line, your promos and your ads about the voice of reason is so compelling, and it's so necessary. And thank you for all that you do. And congratulations on this, the growth of your show, as I just learned as I've been hanging on the phone here. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much. And you're right. We're in that information wave. We got to transition that information into knowledge, into understanding, into ways to act and actually save us, what we need to do. Bruce, we are out of time, my friend. Got to get you back on the show, and let's do it again real soon, brother.
Thank you very much.
Hey, appreciate it. We're back at it again tomorrow for a Friday. Until then, we'll see you back on the radio soon. Bye.